Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. My name is Jamie.
And I'm Mark.
And we are a socially awkward couple who like to watch two people fight over who's the best sports entertainer. And on this podcast, we'll be covering WWE.
Finally, we didn't get around to it. My chair is squeaky as hell. This is terrible. This is a terrible chair for a podcast.
As we said, Mark was trying to say, we didn't get around to talking much about WWE at all, actually, because, well, there was no Raw. It was just like a recap after the holidays, and SmackDown was SmackDown, so we are back to...
And honestly, that Friday's SmackDown was awful.
There wasn't a lot to cover, so...
The Raw, I don't think we've even gone back and even looked at what they
Never
did on that
even
review.
watched
I know
it.
they had Cody Rhodes was on it.
Yep, I believe Bianca Belair was on it. There was a couple things. I know
not everybody was happy about it.
No, I know that there was a lot of time spent on Liv Morgan's reign this year, which is interesting considering she really didn't have
She was only the
much
champ
to
for
talk about.
2 months, 3 months maybe?
Yeah, she won the Money in the Bank, which is cool, and then she was the champ for a little bit, and it just, I don't know, it was a little bit of a lackluster thing, but
that title
opinion.
moves around a little bit in this episode.
It sure does. So speaking of that, let's jump right into it. We'll talk about Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhonda Rousey for the Raw SmackDown Women's title. I apologize.
That's right. We always get confused because we always do SmackDown first and then Raw.
Exactly. A little bit confusing, but now she is the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she fought Raquel Rodriguez after they had that gauntlet match the previous week.
Right, and Raquel was able to overcome, I believe, 3 different women in after she came in. I mean, doesn't matter. It was actually a pretty good match. I know you're very critical of Ronda Rousey.
You know me.
Obviously, Raquel Rodriguez is still a little bit green around the gills, especially in the big time of Raw and SmackDown.
But it was really good. Me of all people, I actually really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. I think that Raquel performed very well. Ronda performed no worse than she do any other day, and that's not a dig.
No, no.
It was a solid match. Wasn't my favorite match of the night. Definitely was a little less polished than most of the other women's matches.
Sure, but Raquel looked really good. She definitely dominated the.
She took a good
majority of the match. I think in my eyes.
Yeah, she 100% took a good loss.
She did end up losing. Yep, which I don't know if anybody thought that she was actually going to win this with how everything's been going down.
Right.
But I actually really liked the ending of this. So Raquel and Rhonda were up on the top rope, and Rhonda put her into an armbar, and Raquel was holding her, which was extremely impressive. Like, Raquel.
Raquel's a very, very strong.
She is, but the ability to stand on the top rope like that and hold Ronda Rousey, who then
full ass human being.
Yeah, who then got into position to put her in an armbar while they were both up on the top rope, held it for a while, and then the second they hit the mat, Raquel tapped.
I mean, yeah, it was, but they were selling the elbow injury. She had a dislocated shoulder and broken elbow.
Also, Shayna Baszler, of course, tried to interfere, which she did, and the ref looked over and was like, "Did you do that? Did you do that?" And then didn't kick her out. I don't know why Shayna Baszler always gets like an extra special pass that the refs don't kick her out of the match. Don't disqualify anything.
It was weird. She did more than what most people do to get kicked out, and she still stayed ringside. I mean, the ref was like berating her. Unfortunately, she didn't have any play in the ultimate decision in the end. Raquel ended up getting the loss, and Ronda Rousey ends up retaining.
She did, and then her and Shayna got into the ring. Ronda grabbed a mic and started talking into it, and it was off, which was funny as hell. I don't know.
Not the first time that's happened to her.
It was completely off. They're like, no words need to be said here. And music hit.
Charlotte Flair
finally
comes back from her quote unquote, I think it was an elbow injury or an arm injury that she sustained in an I Quit match against Ronda. Mm-hmm. She lost her title. So this is the last WWE event of 2022. Charlotte Flair shows up, and Ronda goes on one of the more awkward tirades that she's done.
Yeah, how's your elbow, girl?
Like, well, it felt weird because obviously you knew what was about to happen. Charlotte Flair ends up
she's in her gear
for the title. It just didn't. It's again right back to Ronda just not being good at the mic. Like absolutely
horrible. Absolutely horrible. like you said, the whole like conversation she was having with her, the whole thing was weird. She was like half laughing through it. It was just super awkward.
It was a very forced promo. It didn't feel natural.
It didn't know. And I think that's my issue is it does not feel natural, which I mean, obviously it's scripted. Let's be real here. She can't get it down.
Right.
But long story short, Charlotte comes out and basically says, I'm challenging you for that belt, not next week, right now.
Well, yeah. Rhonda would even like alluded to it, like, oh, what are you out here to challenge me for it next week? And no, now.
Yeah. And Shayna pulled her back and was pretty much insinuating, like, don't do this.
Like
this
an
is
intelligent
stupid.
human being.
You know, this isn't a good idea.
Because it wasn't a match that Rhonda just walked in, beat some ass, and then held the title up and won. Like, it was a good 10, 15-minute match that she had to go through before Charlotte Flair showed up, so she's out of breath and tired.
Right. But for some unknown reason, Rhonda thought it was a great idea, and she looks at Charlotte and she says...
I think they're trying to, like, get Rhonda to look like I'll take on any challenger anytime, anywhere, like she's always kind of touted off as.
Yeah. That didn't really work out, but
it never really does. Like, what person goes like, I just had a fight, let's do another one immediately afterwards.
Sure. And from a mile away, you could tell this wasn't going to be a good idea on Rhonda's part. But for some reason, she looks over at Charlotte and she says, "You're in luck. I'm feeling spicy."
Interesting choice of words. Feeling spicy. But yeah, the bell rang. Charlotte Flair did a huge boot to Rhonda's face.
And instantly pinned her.
Oh yeah, it was a quick.
Got to give you the tease.
It was a quick 2 count, and I think the entire arena they held their breath. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure what direction they were gonna go with this match. Obviously, Ronda Rousey's been your champion for 6 months now.
I don't think it's been that long, but
either way, I mean, she's had it for a good chunk. Obviously, Charlotte Flair, just massive star power compared to Ronda Rousey.
Oh, absolutely.
Right now. Fan favorite. Merchandise seller,
right?
She's
people love Ric Flair, so you can't help but love her daughter.
Of course,
his daughter.
So I was interesting where they were going with this because you're going to have. I mean, it was pretty obvious that Charlotte Flair was going to lose the title, or I'm sorry, Ronda Rousey was going to lose the title. I just don't think anybody really expected Charlotte Flair to literally walk out and within maybe a minute 30.
Yeah, it happened.
It was
quickly.
A quick match, which understandable. You just had an entire women's match, regardless of whether this is another one afterwards. Rhonda is probably fairly spent from performing.
Oh, for sure.
And you don't want to have your a match or a segment go twice as long for no reason. So it's understandable it was a short match. This was one of those times that WWE got me. I was floored when I heard her music and seen her come out. I was like, are you serious? And then as soon as they rang the bell and they actually made it into a match right then and there for the title, and obviously Charlotte Flair ends up winning the title. So right before 2022 ends, we have another crazy headline that we have to tweet out. We have to talk about. Fucking Charlotte Flair walks into SmackDown like she owns the place. I mean, she practically does.
Yep. And walked out
and
as the 14-time WWE World Champion.
Just takes that thing. Just walks up and says, "That's mine. Give it to me." Bang, bang, bang.
But I mean, would anybody be surprised by that? No.
No, but I love this.
The superior wrestler.
Was it
a weird move? A little bit.
No.
Was it the right move? Yes.
100%. 100%. That
people
was the
were not
move.
feeling Rhonda as the champ.
Regardless, you have now taken Charlotte Flair and made her an even more volatile product because she walked in and she just said, "That's mine. Give it to me." Bang.
Yep.
And she is now already on the top of the pile, but now she has just blasted the ceiling open of how much shit she can talk. I came back after 6, 7, 8 months of being since May. I was gone that entire time. I walk in and I win the belt.
Yeah, it was a very Becky Lynch moment when she won the belt from Bianca.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like, holy shit, that was quick. This was obviously a little bit different, but a very quick change where you're like, holy shit, it wasn't ready for that.
I loved it though. It
thought
took
it was
me by
really
surprise.
Good, the whole thing.
If that would have been the main event, I would have lost my shit if that would have, honest to God.
Yeah.
Continuing on with SmackDown, we started the night with a segment. Bray Wyatt walks out to the ring. I told you before, his entrance is great. I'm just tired of waiting 45 minutes for the motherfucker to get in the ring.
It's long.
And again, it's theatrical. It goes with his character. I just wish they would just speed it up a little bit, like a little bit. But we had Bray Wyatt come out, and he was addressing the situation between him and LA Knight, them kind of beefing back and forth, and LA Knight not being a very receptive individual in a conversation between two men.
And also apologizing to the cameraman that he attacked.
Yes, last week he beat the living hell out of a cameraman for reasons that, I guess, anger issues.
Bipolar disorder, remember?
Yeah. LA Knight ends up coming out, interrupts in Bray Wyatt, like in normal LA Knight fashion. And I mean,
which is nice because it like breaks up the ambiance, because it's always like dark when Bray's out there, and then LA Knight comes out with the like hip hop, like, I don't know, like music.
It's one of those things.
Changes the dynamic. It's cool.
It's like it's like getting hit with a glass of ice water in the middle of a shower.
Yeah,
you're just like, what the fuck? Like,
I kind of like it though.
Oh, I love it because it breaks that tension of Bray Wyatt being his broody self. LA Knight comes out, and like I said, he just continues talking shit about how Bray Wyatt's got his goons beating him up backstage, and this Uncle Howdy guy, and lo and behold, the creepy weird music starts up, the lights go low, and Uncle Howdy starts walking, not only comes out, but starts walking to the ring. So we finally get to see a glimpse of Uncle Howdy.
Although, not the same Uncle Howdy.
No, different mask, a little bit of the actual person's skin showing, little goatee.
Totally different hair.
Yep. He comes out, ends up putting his hat down in the ring, walks into the ring. You think he's going to back up Bray Wyatt, and
because he goes on his side, you know, he like gets his, like the two of them up against LA, you know.
But turns to him and hits Bray Wyatt with his sister Abigail and leaves.
And poor LA is like, what the hell is going on?
I think we were all like that because I don't know what they're doing with this story.
I don't either. And this storyline did come to some type of a head. And they are going to be wrestling at Royal Rumble, which is not till January 28th.
LA Knight Challenge,
which at this point is like a month. You know, like we're gonna drag this on really for another month.
I
mean, Bray's got a broken finger, apparently.
Oh, that's right. He supposedly got injured during a live show.
Yeah, which sucks.
Speaking of that, AJ Styles is also out he's got a broken ankle.
Yeah, same night, right?
I don't know if it was the same night, same week.
Yeah.
But yeah, AJ Styles out with a broken ankle. Bray Wyatt's got a broken finger, which, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with a broken finger.
For sure.
This whole Uncle Howdy thing, I don't know if it's just the buildup is too long for me.
What's the agenda behind that? You know, like what is that going to factor in with for the next month?
Right.
Is there going to be some type of interference in this match by Uncle Howdy? Like, is that what we're here to expect? Like the most obvious thing?
Well, I guess we'll find out because, well, like I said, we got the match there, but we also have Alexa Bliss has been kind of influenced by a little bit of the Bray Wyatt.
Totally influenced.
Uncle Howdy.
Yeah.
The
keep seeing
moth
the symbol,
keeps popping up, and every time it does, she ends up doing something crazy. A couple weeks ago, she ended up smashing Bianca Belair in the head with a vase filled with
a poinsettia.
Was it a poinsettia?
Yeah, it was a poinsettia.
My mother would be so mad.
You know, it was Christmas.
And they've kind of teased this whole returning back to the Bray Wyatt crazy Alexa Bliss gimmick.
Uh-huh. She ended up having a match with Bianca Belair, and a lot of that tied right into it.
And yeah, it was for the Raw Women's Championship. And it ended up being a DQ because she saw, two people in the crowd with masks.
Yep. Which WWE sells, so I don't really know where they were getting with that. She had,
I don't know, a burning sensation in her head when Bray Wyatt's symbol flashed on the Titantron, and then she attacked the referee.
Yep.
And then
the commentators were like, this is going to end up in a DQ, but she's doing this anyways.
And they never rang a bell.
Nobody says a word. The bell never rings. And then Alexa Bliss just
more referees come out, and they kind of like try to help break up everything. She ends up attacking Bianca Belair, I guess, after the bell, quote unquote.
Yeah.
They never sounded a bell. Montez Ford comes out. He gets, I don't even know what happened to him later on. I don't know. I maybe we're in that grace period where they're building, and it's going to be a payoff here in a few weeks at the Royal Rumble. Maybe we're just not with it anymore. I'm excited to see Bray Wyatt back in WWE, but I'm very disappointed in how we've been presented Bray Wyatt so far.
Yeah, all
I guess
of it.
not Bray Wyatt. The story that's encompassing Bray Wyatt.
Correct,
I feel
the
like
whole storyline.
it's been dragged out for so long that I don't feel I'm not invested in it really right now because it's just 2-3 weeks of the same story, just a few minutes extra or a few cents of more, and just it's not doing it for me.
No. Now, one thing that was interesting is it's again the first Raw of 2023, the one that we're talking about right now, and the first show we get to see blood, but it was clearly, obviously, a blood capsule. Alexa attacked Bianca on the steel steps and hit her a couple times. She pops up with, again, very fake blood.
Right.
But it was still interesting to see them doing something like that involved in the match because they're obviously very anti-blood. You know, they give AEW a lot of shit for it.
I mean, there was blood later. Yeah, I don't. Maybe we're seeing little shades of because they I don't know. They're buying into more of like the creepy kind of vibe with Dexter Lumis.
Yeah.
With stuff with Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt. I don't know. Maybe we're seeing something different with them.
I mean, it's not a bad direction. Impact always has a lot of that, like, creepy ambiance.
Oh, yeah. Impact has, like, if you're looking for that supernatural wrestling, that, like, above and beyond storyline, that shit that Danhausen would flourish in, Impact's the way to go.
Yeah.
100%. They love those backstage
like
segments.
psychological, like, you thought Alexa Bliss was demented. Like, you see, like, Sue Young and, like, all these other people who, like,
but they're
literally live the character like that.
But they, yeah. I mean, I can go on a tangent about Impact all day, but I feel like they do it where they don't let the filter stop the content.
Right.
And I feel like WWE is more focused on selling a product to an individual.
Right.
Impact,
selling the show.
I don't know who the hell Impact's selling. They're obviously doing something good because they've continually produced shows.
Absolutely.
But I don't think that type of creepy works well with WWE unless they go full bore.
Right.
As long as we don't see zombies.
I was just going to say the same thing. That was horrible.
Oh, it was awful. I think that was when we started watching WWE again.
Started dipping our toes in, and we saw that, and we were like, we were like,
no, we're gone.
And then not too long after that, there was that whole thing where, like, WWE was, like, sponsored by Pizza Hut.
Oh, my God. And they actually had
the Street Profits.
The Street Profits, because I remember Montez Ford was whipping slices into the crowd.
We were like, who are these guys? But it's just absolutely hysterical, but
which I thought,
just dumb.
I thought that was funny.
Dumb
they had
humor.
Montez Ford, who, especially back then, a few years ago, his physique was on point.
Right.
And he's sitting there eating
sell me on that?
pepperoni pizza. Like that, this dude doesn't eat pepperoni pizza on a daily basis.
Pretty sure they through Otis out there to eat some slices, you know, because they thought that's all Otis was good for a while. And
right.
Thankfully, Triple H came back and was like, nah, he doesn't have to eat hot dogs. You know? All right. So like the Otis spot I was just talking about, how it's stupid silly. Let's talk about what I think, controversially, was the best part of Raw. I can't even say it out loud. The Dominic Mysterio promo.
I believe
from prison.
I believe his name is Inmate Mysterio. I believe this was after. No. This was after he got out of prison.
So where was he in that
prison.
interview? Right.
Oh no, I don't know where he was. It was a white room. He was wearing a wife beater that was white.
Okay.
He was chewing on a toothpick.
I was getting that he was still there. But...
No. That's why he was saying, I just got out of prison.
Okay. Yes.
It makes it.
Regardless of where he is, it looks like an insane asylum kind of where Dominic is, and he's just basically talking about what's happening. So if you haven't seen it, long story short, Rhea Ripley, Dominic, and Rey Mysterio have been doing the absolute most hysterical segments. There was one Thanksgiving where Dominic and Rhea busted into Rey's house, I guess unwelcomed.
No,
even
they
though
didn't
it's
bust
his
in.
parents.
He knocked. His abuela let him in.
No, that was Christmas. This is Thanksgiving.
It's same thing.
Dominic put his mask on, or Rey Mysterio clearly had just put his mask on, because who eats Thanksgiving dinner with their mask?
Right.
You know? And he opens up the door, and they're like, let us in. And he just, like, sits there and talks to him, and then, you know, that happens, and he gets beat up. Rey Mysterio gets the shit kicked out of him. And then cut to Christmas, like you said, Grandpa clearly doesn't know what's going on and lets Dominic and Rhea in. And instantly, Dom's mom and dad stop him. and kick him out. And Rhea's like freaking out. Dom's freaking out. And he's like, what did I do? What did I do? And Rey Mysterio's wife just reaches over and smacks Rhea in the face. And then about 0.3 seconds later, the police are there.
Yeah. And they arrest Dom. And Dom went to jail, I guess, for the night.
He's screaming for mommy, you know, I can't make it in prison, which I don't know why he'd go to prison. I don't even know why he's being arrested.
Well, he didn't even go to prison. I mean, you get arrested for an evening or two. It's not like prisons. You don't go to prison for a domestic or like a you know, I don't know, disturbing the peace.
Yeah, I mean, his grandpa let him in.
Yeah.
But no, he insinuated he went to prison. He said he did hard time and survived. And also had a teardrop tattoo.
Yeah, I don't know how legitimate that tattoo is, but got a new accessory.
Looked like ballpoint pen.
WWE just buying into that super silly storylines. I don't know when the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio turned into the ridiculous things that they just did. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with the Judgment Day.
I thought it was absolutely hysterical because when you last saw Dom, he's screaming, "Mommy, mommy, I can't make it in prison." And now he's hard. You know, things have changed. It's been a few days. You know, it's been a hard couple of days, and he's got the teardrop. I don't know. He must have killed somebody in prison. I don't really know what they're getting at here, but
I don't know.
It's hysterical. And I look forward to it every week.
For sure. Next, we had a segment with Damage Control and Bayley. Came out and talked shit.
Per usual.
Per usual. And Becky Lynch came out. And
per usual.
Bayley kind of alluded to, we have more people in the ring than you.
Mm-hmm.
And Becky Lynch took it as, well, seeing as how I don't have my phone, I'm just going to take the 2-on-1 fight. And this was after insulting her and telling her that she's been like the diet version of Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Since Becky Lynch has been out. And it seems like they've always had like an injury that just happens to offset one another.
Right.
Becky Lynch is out for a little bit, and then Bayley's out for, well, she was out for what, 9 months?
Yeah, she was out for a while.
So,
but Bayley said exactly that. Like, you know, seeing as you have an issue with my girls being Damage Control, why don't you go ahead and fight them, and you can go in the back and you can find whoever you want to be your partner.
Right.
And she said, "Oh gosh, gee willikers, I don't have my phone."
Also,
and, like,
she patted
herself down when she had no pants.
She called Bayley a dope.
Yeah.
She walked out and she said, "Would you shut up, you big dope?"
You could tell there was a couple times she like fumbled.
Yeah.
But also, Dakota Kai needs to work on her face. As far as like, that sounds weird. As far as like, hold on, let me explain. I don't mean cosmetically.
I think I understand.
She like overreacts so hard to like when other people say things.
I feel like Io Sky doesn't do that at all.
She's the 100% opposite. Like, she's stone cold face, and that's okay. I feel like that's all right. But I'm always like watching Dakota, and it's so distracting because she's always got like the mean girls, like, oh my god, like
she reminds me of those
you know?
extras that are on like on a play that aren't a part of the play. They're just like cannon fodder, and they just have like the most ridiculous surprised face over like the smallest things.
Exactly. That's a perfect depiction. But anyways, Becky, like I said, gosh gee willikers, can't find my phone. She's like, oh, you know, 2 of you, 1 of me, looks like the odds are even. And she just ran down there and fought. And what I thought was really funny was Corey Graves said, Damage Control's not ready.
For what? For Becky Lynch?
They weren't ready for the match, but they were in gear.
Well, yeah. I mean...
Sorry to break the fourth wall down, but,
I know, right?
You know, you usually can tell that somebody's not going to fight if not they're wearing their
when
gear.
Shane O'Mac walks out and he's in a 3-piece suit, I don't think he's about to start throwing down with Stone Cold, even though he's like taking his top off. And
exactly.
But then again, you know, you do have Ric Flair. I've watched that man strip down to damn near his underwear as he elbowed every piece of his clothing, his watch, his necklace, his whatever else he had in his pockets. So it's not out of the realm of wrestling that somebody would compete in a 3-piece suit that costs a good little bit amount of money.
Not to get too off topic, but I did happen to hear something about Eric Bischoff was doing an interview with Chris Van Vliet. I think you might have heard it.
Yes, I listened to it.
And he was talking about Ric Flair, and he said several times, he's like, I don't know why that guy gets mad at me. He just like, he's always in that like mode where he just like fights all the time. And he's like, honest to God, there's been several times like, I don't know why he's mad at me. 6 months ago, we were drinking together. He's like, now he can't stand me. And even Wendy doesn't understand. Like,
well, even Ric Flair, he responded to that and said something to the effect of, he's like, yeah, he's probably right. We'll probably be getting drunk here 6-9 months down the road. Like, I feel like, but okay.
Rick's probably a difficult person to be a friend with.
But actually, take Becky Lynch take anybody, honestly, in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
You gotta be a little bit weird to be a good performer.
Oh yeah,
whether it's
That's
wrestling or an
out.
actor or it's anything like that. Even a sports like a sports star, like a football or basketball or baseball. Like you gotta be a little bit outside the box.
Yeah, you gotta stand out,
and especially wrestling. Like you've got to have, you got to build a character. You've got to portray that character. And back 20, 30 years ago when you couldn't separate acting from, home life, like you had to live the character. And that's the era he comes from. So I'm sure a lot of it's influenced from that. But Ric Flair seems like one of those dudes that is just, he shows up and everybody goes, shit, Ric Flair's here.
Yeah. Did you hear Eric say?
It's not a bad thing that he's here. Just
it's
somebody
just a different vibe.
Go hide the golf carts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
we have some of those friends.
Yeah.
Did you hear Eric say that he doesn't think Rick can actually pull a punch in real life because he's done so many fake hits that he doesn't actually know how to pull a real one?
He was talking about one time in WCW. I don't remember the context of it, but Ric Flair came in and Eric Bischoff was on the phone, and I guess he just started swinging at Bischoff and straight, like he said, he hit me like a good 2-3 times. I had to like clear the cobwebs out.
Eric said he was looking for the cameras because he didn't know if it was a skit or why he was hitting them.
Yeah.
He was on the phone with his like real estate agent or something, like getting some property, and Rick just comes in and starts beating his ass for no reason.
He even said like he got me those couple of times, but like for the opportunities he had, he should have like destroyed me.
Yeah.
I don't. The topic on hand, we did have a match between Becky Lynch and Damage Control for a few minutes. It was a 2-on-1 handicap. And just as Becky Lynch was out in dire straits, Mia Yim,
maybe.
What do we call her? I don't know what we're calling her anymore. We went from one name to another name, back to another name, back to another name. Now we're doing both names. Now she's in the OC. Whatever. She comes rushing down to the ring because she's got issue with Damage Control, and she kind of saves the day for a little bit. But it was a good match between the four individuals. I think they're just trying to, number one, reintroduce Mia Yim into the fold, which is difficult when you don't have a lot of storyline. You've been gone off of even the smallest amount of WWE TV time. So I'm sure that's part of this developing and putting her back into it. And you also have Becky Lynch that. Not that she's not known; she's one of the top WWE women's performers. But bringing her back into the storyline, giving her something to have a feud about, other than just she's Becky Lynch and she likes to fight.
Sure.
Giving her some motivation. I think this is what all this ties into. And yes, this was a weird match. I know we didn't really care for it too much, and it ended up being Becky Lynch started attacking Bayley on the outside, which allowed for a really quick and awkward double team from Damage Control on Mia Yim.
Right.
Not a bad match. Just really just kind of didn't sit anywhere. It just
seemed kind of pointless.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I think it was just strictly to further or to get everybody involved in everything. But
maybe
yeah, it was one of those
time for everybody.
It's that awkward match before everything starts to kind of come together.
Yeah, you can't really figure out why Mi Chin came out, because even when she came out, everybody was like, is she against Damage Control? Is she with Damage Control? Like, there was no clear cut understanding until she jumped in the ring and like put her arm out, in the corner, and obviously Becky was going to reach out and tag her in, but it was just like the weirdest, like these impromptu matches I'm just like really over. I feel like every once in a while you can do it, but I feel like it's just every match is just super impromptu.
Yeah.
Nothing was planned.
WWE's been doing that for the past couple weeks, so it's just,
yeah.
I have a problem with you, you have a problem with me, let's go out of the ring. Oh, we're both in the ring, let's have a match. Yeah, and you're right. Like, that was part of like the Attitude Era that we loved. There would be occasionally there'd be a match like that where like I don't like you, you don't like me. Well, fuck you. Let's go fight in the ring.
But they had matches that they hyped up for weeks. You know, you could have a huge rivalry match between The Rock and Mick Foley on a Monday Night Raw. You know, that wasn't forbidden. It almost seems like, and we're gonna have to talk about this too, since Sasha and Naomi like screwed over WWE, that they're like trigger shy.
I don't know if screwed over might be a harsh term.
Well, that's what they think. They're like trigger shy of like not wanting to post matches and like say things are going to happen. You know, I think they're possibly afraid that something might happen with one of their stars and the match doesn't happen and they have to kind of save face on it. So all of a sudden now they just match like 1 or 2 matches for the night. Right. And then they end up having 6. And 4 of them are because of a poker tournament. You know, it's just like weird.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's odd. But after Io ended up pinning Michin after the win, Bayley must have hopped on a plane not too long after to support her friend.
We're getting into that right now?
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit because I don't want to go on for too long. But, man, she must have hopped on a plane, went straight over to Japan with Naomi.
Yep. And, nobody's confirmed that Naomi's there. They've had...
There's pictures of her. What did they do, Photoshop her?
Has there been pictures? I haven't seen any.
I was trying to be like an asshole, but
it doesn't exist in this world if I haven't seen it.
Yeah, for sure. She was there. There's pictures with her, FTR, obviously, Mercedes. And Bayley. Monet.
I don't know, but I've told that to you. I don't know how I feel about that name, but it's not my name.
You know, it's like Money, Monet.
Formerly known as Sasha Banks, debuted in NJPW at Wrestle Teen last night. I don't know what time it was over there, but I know it was 1:30 this morning. The pre-show started, I think it was around, let's see, I got up at 4 for work this morning, and I checked my phone 15 minutes after I woke up, and she had already debuted. So it was somewhere between the beginning of the show and an hour, I guess. But she debuted as a slightly new look and did one of the most awkward armbar bank statement. I don't know what happened.
New finisher.
Yeah.
You know, for somebody who's used to such a big pop, the music hit and not a lot of people knew what to do because, of course, this is the debut of somebody with a whole new persona. You know, so nobody knows who this is. The entrance hits. Nobody has any clue who it is. And then eventually she comes out. She looks so different. This is also Japan, not the United States. And they're not screaming and cheering and yelling like they do in the United States. So I think it probably to her was really awkward.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know?
I'm sure.
She did her best.
It's very reminiscent of when Japanese wrestlers debut in America for the first time. Maybe not nowadays because the internet's the internet and I can go on the internet and watch Japanese wrestling live with like a 5-minute delay.
Sure.
Which is mind-blowing.
Absolutely insane.
Because 30 years ago, you had to trade CDs and DVDs and tapes, try and find matches from overseas, let alone
watch the entire pay-per-view for what, like $5 a month or whatever it is?
Yeah, right.
Pay for NJPW.
Right. I think it's $7.49. It's 999 yen.
Whatever that translates
whatever the conversion rate is, I don't ever look. It's under $10. I mean, if you like wrestling and you enjoy, like even remotely enjoy the Japanese style wrestling,
do it.
It's no more than Peacock is.
Yeah. I think we will leave the NJPW Wrestle Kingdom at that. That way we don't spoil it. I think we're a little bit too close to that. We'll give it a few days and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Right.
I'd hate to spoil it for everybody.
While talking about Becky Lynch, can't bring her up without talking about her esteemed husband, Seth Rollins. He had a title match with Austin Theory tonight, that night, whatever.
Part
night.
215.
Yep, same one we've seen a couple times for the United States Championship. Austin Theory stating that Seth Rollins is the past, Austin Theory is the present, and his forever reign is just beginning. So apparently Austin Theory this belt is his. He will never relinquish this belt. He will never do more aspirations than just this belt. This is it. This is the pinnacle of Austin Theory, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't like Austin Theory now, you'll never like him again.
You're screwed because he's here forever.
This is it. He's the forever reign. I mean, is he going to be a multi-reign? Is he going to take all the titles and be like, I am the title master?
I have absolutely no idea what Hunter's plan is. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
It was cool. I liked it. And then now it's like, oh, hey, here's Seth. Oh, hey, here's Bobby. Like, find somebody else. I'm going to say the same thing I say every week. Got to shake it up here. We need new opponents.
Yes. Well, they brought Hit Row in.
Cool. Shout out to everybody in the locker room in the back. Well, I don't know if I think it was on SmackDown for absolutely annihilating Top Dollar for that.
Okay, let's talk about that. This wasn't on the docket to talk about, but I need to mention this. So you had probably 5 to 6 grown men making fun of another grown man.
Yeah, some
who
big
couldn't
dudes.
jump over a rope.
Yeah.
And he had no problem with anybody. He's like, all right, yep, cool. And then Ricochet steps up and doesn't really insult him. Says something to the effect of, oh, now he knows why I do what I do the best. Didn't say, hey, you're an idiot. Didn't say, hey, you suck. He said something very similar of like, now you know why, I do the flippy floppy stuff,
right.
And an individual like your size doesn't normally do floppy stuff.
Exactly.
Floppy stuff
Pretty
like
much
that.
saying like he can do things that other people can't do.
Right, because he's a smaller figure. And
sure. Top Dollar
got mad.
He got really upset. With the smallest guy in the room, too.
Like, you ever seen a man get mad at a bar for no reason? Yeah. Like, you're just, like, watching him, and he's just, like, talking to somebody. You could just see, the storm brewing behind his eyes.
Yeah.
Like, that man's going to punch somebody in the face. That's what Top Dollar looked like, but only for, like, that 3 seconds where he reached out and baby push Ricochet.
Uh-huh. Again, the smallest guy in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing. It
was really funny.
Other than Mansoor, there was no other dude that was smaller than Ricochet.
Yeah. Forgot Mansoor and what's the other guy's name? Massey.
I used to love them.
Oh, I do love them. They're great.
Just don't remember their names.
Nah.
They're cheap versions of the Ass Boys. I'm saying
they're
right
cheap versions?
Yep.
Look at their clothing.
Look at the Ass Boys clothing. At least the Ass Boys actually are on TV.
See, this doesn't make any sense because we're recording for Raw and SmackDown, but we actually took a break to watch Dynamite that just happened for this week.
It's 10:30 on a Wednesday.
Because why not? So Seth Rollins and Austin Theory. You've seen it. We've seen it. It was great. It wasn't a bad match.
Just go back to any of the other times they wrestled and just find one where Seth loses. And there you go. And that's the match. Nothing spectacular. Nothing happened. Nothing. Like Seth Rollins lost.
Just a good match. Austin Theory wanted to leave at one point. He was like, I'm out of
here.
He
did the heel thing. He did the heel thing where he's like, well, if I just leave, then I lose, but I'm DQ'd, so I retain the title, the championship advantage. I don't know what they did with what would.
Hopefully they got something planned.
Hopefully they bring the Hurt Locker back. We did have a little bit of a preview of that kind of. I don't remember what the segment was. But
it was when Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Bayley were all walking to the ring. And you could see in the background that MVP, Cedric, and Shelton were all talking to Adam Pearce.
Right.
So,
by the way, big ups to Adam Pearce for actually growing a pair of testicles this week.
Yeah, he decided on Raw that he wasn't, which we're going to talk about, but he wasn't cool with the bloodline.
Oh, no, bring it up now. Yeah,
let's
the
talk about it.
Bloodline stormed Raw.
They had a very NWO invasion of Raw. They were going to take over, the classic bloodline. Lately.
A hostile takeover, as Sami Zayn put it.
KO came out and he was like, "What are you guys doing?" And then it was just like, whatever. And he did the same thing Becky did. He just starts attacking them. And Adam Pearce finally comes out and is like, these guys aren't in charge. I'm in charge. And pretty much like the authoritarian position where he's like, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. But at first he acted like he was going to kick them out. He's like, security, come down here and kick the bloodline out. But then he's like, for some reason, he changed his mind and thought, well, you know what's a better idea?
Well, it's
I'll have them all wrestle.
It's because he had to call the entire locker room out.
Yeah.
He called the entire locker room out because he started to get them all go back. Solo Sikoa started taking everybody out. So he called. I need the universal sign for. He looks at the entrance and he just starts waving his arm like beckoning, and you just see man after man come filing out like they were standing in gorilla waiting for this. Just full, everybody in gear. Nobody, you haven't seen half these guys on TV, but they're in full gear running to the ring, and the Bloodline proceed to just beat the shit out of everybody.
Walk through the crowd.
And finally, Adam Pearce gets everything kind of handled and says, you know what, fine, yeah, instead of kicking you out, I'm going to make you all have a match. Which, how is that a punishment for wrestlers?
I don't understand. How are you going to kick me out, but then be like, oh no, your real punishment is you're going to have to fight?
I don't know.
I don't know what
they're doing. I don't know what they're doing with Adam Pearce. I feel like every time that he gets on TV, they take a little bit more away from him.
Yep, they do. I feel like a lot of what's going on in WWE right now is they have a shitload of ideas, and they're throwing all of them at the wall to see which one sticks.
Right, but they've been doing so well with the Bloodline. I don't know what they're doing with it now.
Well, let's start off by talking a little bit about Solo Sikoa and his week in particular, which Solo's had a solid week.
He's had a solid come up into the
WWE in general.
WWE, thank you.
Up to the main card. He had a match during SmackDown with Sheamus.
Mm-hmm.
Just a good, clean match just to establish how good Solo is, really. Again, not a lot of comments, but really good match. And then he also had a match on Raw versus Elias. And when you're talking about Adam Pearce and he's trying to set everything straight, he gets all the wrestlers that came down to kind of like help break up the bloodline and everything in the back, and he like has a conversation with everybody.
Well,
and sets up all these matches.
Yelling at him.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, you're gonna fight this person, and so on and so forth. So Elias is like, I have a problem with Solo. He smashed a guitar on me, so I want to have a match with him. And Adam Pearce, let's remember here, this is impromptu. Decides that they're gonna have a Music City street fight.
Right.
It's Tennessee.
Because they're at Nashville, Tennessee.
Yep.
And this is previously they introduced their musical guest Hardy, which for a second I had a really hard time understanding what was going on, because Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy. So when they kept saying Hardy, like, what are they talking about? And they finally show this Kid Rock lookalike guy, and I guess because he's from Nashville and he's got a song that has to do with one of the upcoming premium live events, he was a part of the show.
Yeah, they gave him his 30 seconds to awkwardly pose in front of the camera.
Yep.
Here's Hardy from Nashville, blah, 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 all that good stuff.
Even everybody in Nashville was like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, but again, this is impromptu, and let me go back through my notes and tell you the exact musical instruments that they had set up here. We had a full piano, a drum set, electric guitars, amps, heads. What else? Am I missing something? Multiples. Electric guitars, acoustic guitars.
They had a piano.
A full piano.
A full piano, grand piano.
And in this impromptu match that Adam Pearce came up with, 5 minutes beforehand?
Right.
Kudos to the guys that went out and set that up. That must have been a nightmare.
Oh, God, I couldn't imagine.
They must have had every guy that works for them, we need every single one of you to grab a musical instrument.
Right.
And they were trash. They looked like they were just brand new. They found, the closest Sam Ash. They went over to the, cheap section.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely bottom. Well, of course, you're not going to be smashing Pearls and Ibanez's.
I know, but they weren't even name brand.
Oh, they had everything sprayed. It looked like they had a couple of Line 6 half stacks with a cab, but they spray painted all the logos out. There was just a random blue guitar sitting there and a tambourine. I think Elias hit Solo with a tambourine.
Yeah, and I think Solo hit Elias with a cymbal.
No, he hit him with a cymbal stand, which I'm not going to lie. When he did that, I thought he was going to take his eye out.
For real.
If you have ever fucked with a cheap hi-hat, the edges, the thing is they're so fucking thin.
Yeah.
Is you'll cut your own, you can cut pizza with them.
Uh-huh.
They're so damn thin. So I was surprised he didn't get hurt, but for it being the gimmick match, and if you take away the idea that this was a unplanned match, It was a good match. I do enjoy a good gimmick match. This was like a borderline, basically like a reskinned hardcore match,
right,
with a lighter tone. The ending was kind of fun too. I didn't really like the idea because Solo Sikoa ended up hitting like Nagi. I think that's how you say it. Onto it's like a rock bottom basically.
Yeah.
Onto the piano. The piano ends up collapsing and he ends up pinning him.
Yeah, after a Simone spike.
Right. Which I get it. It's like I said, it's like a reskinned hardcore match, so I can understand the fall count anywhere. But on top of the piano, but
the piano barely budged too.
Well, the legs ended up collapsing.
Yeah.
And the top ended up folding down. It was theatrically, it looked good.
Yeah, but it looked like it hurt.
I don't know why they needed to put Solo Sikoa in a match like this. I guess they did this to make people give a shit about the match, because if you would have put Rey Mysterio and Braun Strowman in this just because they ran into each other at a poker game,
exactly,
nobody would give a shit. So I think they tried to use Solo Sikoa to make it a form of legitimacy to the matches,
which they did. Hardy,
I just hate seeing somebody like that
underutilized.
Go
Hardy, they make that big segment where they're like, oh, here's your moment. They obviously call this guy out. I don't know who this guy is. And he has a guitar. And at one point he hands it to Elias so Elias can hit Solo with it. And it ends up just sitting in the ring. And this guy just jumps over the barricade.
Yep.
Jumps up behind Solo Sikoa, whacks him with the guitar.
Hits him
Solo
in the back.
no-sells.
Hits him in the back.
Yeah, and then Solo just turns around, and I think he just runs off, right?
Right, he just dipped.
Just
and then
ridiculous. No need.
Elias ends up trying to attack Solo with the guitar. I mean, it's literally just the neck, the thin 1/8-inch wood front with the strings attached to it and flopping around, and he brings it up the top of the rope and then jumps. Solo hits him with the
Simone spike,
the Simone spike, and gets for the pin. Again, it was a fun match. I just don't know. I don't know why they needed to use Solo. I feel like he's such an
street fight aspect, maybe.
I guess he's just. I feel like he's more intimidating than a band geek fight.
One of the other things that happened, this happened on SmackDown, was Sami Zayn had an interesting encounter with Paul Heyman. At the beginning of SmackDown, he showed up and he was like he normally would, go say hi to Roman. And Paul Heyman had a conversation with him at the door. He stopped him super awkwardly.
Well, he was trying to strategize with him because he had a match with himself and Roman against John Cena, Kevin Owens later that night.
Right. Sami has a conversation with Paul, asks him, how was your Ramadan? And Paul says, how's your Hanukkah? And all that good stuff. And they're making small talk and talking about how good everything is. And Paul's like, I'm always happy when I get to see you, Sami. And they're talking back and forth. And Paul just kind of stops all of a sudden. He's like, you know what? I got the green light. There's no more delay. There's no more delay tactics. And Sami went to go walk in. He was like, oh, Paul, and kind of laughed it off. And then Paul just had this really stern face. One thing I forgot to say too, there was a conversation between them during this where Paul kind of hinted to Sami that it wasn't a good thing that the crowd is chanting, Sami, Sami, and all that stuff. And Sami was concerned, did Roman say something about this? And Paul said, no, Roman didn't say anything about this, but, being on the island of relevancy, you have to be 3 steps ahead. And that just, something I wanted to talk to you about. That's all. And just, again, played it off and said, no more delay tactics, come on in. And Paul's playing the game hard.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something brewing there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what. I don't know if it's going to be Sami's leaving the bloodline or what the case is, but there's definitely something there.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's playing a hard game, trying to convince Sami that they're best of friends. They get along really well. You want to keep your enemies close, kind of thing.
Right.
So don't really know what's going on there, but that did happen at the beginning of SmackDown. Again, like you said, the other thing that happened was the main event, and John Cena had his one and only match this year, or last year now.
Right.
With Kevin Owens on his side against Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was really good. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, they started off the match. They had their back and forth. Those guys have had just years and years and years of matches together. So, of course, they know how to put on just a fantastic performance.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, other than, I'm not saying the match wasn't good.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it like, really that much. I don't know if they were trying to sell Roman like he was tired or
I don't know.
something, but he was moving very slow. He
wasn't really.
There wasn't a lot of like urgency in what he was doing.
He wasn't hitting his moves.
No.
He didn't look good. I don't know if that was storyline.
I'm not sure, yeah.
But kind of odd.
Right.
I think it was just purely just to let John Cena kind of have his moment. He's in Tampa. That's where he's from.
Right.
You know, let him kind of shine. Him and his bald spot had their moment. And, you know, it was good. It was gimmicky. Him and Kevin Owens did the 5-knuckle shuffle.
Right.
Then John Cena
did
an AA. Roman Reigns rolled out, and Kevin Owens hit the stunner on Sami Zayn, and that was it.
Yep. I mean, got to give the people what they want, and the John Cena win.
Yep. We all know Roman's not going to take the pin, huh? But I don't know. It was kind of weird. Well, felt kind of awkward afterwards.
Even then, the entire time, Roman Reigns didn't look very happy with Sami Zayn's performance.
No. I felt like Sami did a bad job.
Right.
The whole thing was weird.
I think it's supposed to be, they're acting like it's fueled by jealousy that the crowd is digging Sami Zayn instead of the bloodline.
I mean, that's not Sami's fault.
No. I mean, technically it could be.
Yeah. Sami can't help himself. He's just too good.
Right.
Sami Uso. He had quite a fucking year.
Yeah.
MVP.
Well, we've got the Royal Rumble will be coming up at the end of this month.
Yep, January 28th.
Yeah, so whole new season to WWE. I guess they labeled their seasons by every year. So Raw was episode 1 of the new season of WWE. Starting off weird.
It is starting off weird.
I don't know if not on a good foot's a good term to use, but it wasn't not the best Raw.
I guess you expected a really good show with it being the beginning of the year and hoping that, like you said before, a lot of these like what seem like weird rivalries that are starting like actually have some fire behind it and have some ass and some steam, so it's like interesting.
Right.
But we really don't know.
No.
So I don't know if they're building up to something or just trying to get anything to make sense until they can build up to something. Right. Again, I'm happy Charlotte Flair's back. I think they really needed that.
It's a short time to build something up for Royal Rumble, though, if they're even going to plan on it.
Yeah. And they still haven't even decided who, well, I mean, they've decided, but they haven't announced who Roman's going to face. You'd think, I mean, we got less than a month.
If he's going to face anybody.
Yeah. Is it going to be Sami? Is it going to be KO? I don't know.
We'll find out.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this week with WWE, and that is SmackDown for 12/30 and Raw for January 2nd. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and you'd like to hear more, make sure you subscribe to Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts.
And be sure to leave us a 5-star review and tell a friend about us. The best way for us to grow and bring you even better content every week is by word of mouth or just share us on social media pages.
And of course, remember to follow at CAW Wrestling Pod on Twitter, where we live tweet along with AEW and WWE shows and pay-per-views, Instagram, and YouTube, where we repost every podcast in video format. Thank you so much for listening. Follow me on Twitter at A Bacon Party.
And I'm at Gunk Dudley. Gunk Dudley? Just Gunk Dudley.
Just Gunk Dudley.